Hello everyone, welcome to the Buzz the Prey Manga. Today we continue the latest Global Freeze chapter, rewritten and edited by me in English for a smooth reading experience. All visuals and story flow are personally edited to give you the best manga style storytelling. Support the original creator by checking the official manga. So let's dive right into the today's chapter.
Chapter 2832, the entropy reduction domain has no undulations of veins, no meandering of rivers, and not even wind. The ground was as smooth as a mirror, reflecting the faint and cold starlight from the depths of the universe. What lay beneath our feet was not ice, but a strange, icy blue soil, hard, dry, and devoid of any moisture. Not far away, as if after a meteor shower, there were thousands upon thousands of impact craters. Those were landing sites for other races. My leg is broken. A mournful wail came from a pit on the side. That was an extraordinary individual from the Windwalker clan. This race is known for their agile physiques and skill in flying on the wind. However, in this environment with 10 times the gravity, their fragile bones simply could not withstand the impact of their own landing. The suit's intelligent system immediately scanned the surrounding environment and provided Zhang Yi with a large amount of data. Upon seeing one of the data points, Zhang Yi's eyebrows twitched involuntarily. Minus 150 degrees Celsius. This is a temperature at which even cell activity can be instantly frozen. The Windrunner warrior's wails quickly faded. His body was covered with a layer of white frost. His eyes gradually became unfocused, and he finally turned into an ice sculpture that would forever kneel on the ground. This was the first show of force that Zero Star gave to the allied forces of all races. All staff report their status. Zhang Yi said in a deep voice in the team channel. Ho Tu is in good condition. Huta leaped out of a deep pit. She stretched her limbs, her combat boots making a dull thud as they struck the frozen ground. This gravity feels somewhat familiar to me. Although it's heavy, I'm used to it. My alien body is connected to the earth, and here I actually feel more grounded. Nuba is in average condition. A faint flame surrounded Juyu. She tried to use fire-type special effects to combat the low temperature around her, but found that it had little effect. The extreme cold suppressed my flames, but the frost power within me is very active. I can use the ice attribute to maintain my body temperature. She breathed softly, and all the flames around her dissipated. I'm still in good shape. Although it's a bit cold, my battle suit is durable, and I can still wield the sword. Yang Xinshin, everything is normal. Yang Xinshin stood on a protruding rock, looking down at the ground. Her long, slender legs firmly supported her body. Her past disability was a thing of the past, and her physical strength was now formidable. After confirming that the core members were unharmed, Zhang Yi looked at Lu Ran. Lu Ran has already set up the portable analyzer and is scanning the ground and sky. A few minutes later, her face turned somewhat pale. Brother Zhang Yi, the situation is not good. Lu Ran pointed to the chaotic waveform on the screen. This planet is not just a celestial body, it's more like a magnetic field suppressor. The magnetic field here is extremely chaotic, and all electronic devices and precision instruments are severely interfered with and cannot function properly. Even if warships were launched, they wouldn't be able to take off. And Lu Ran paused for a moment, then looked into the distance. Based on the trajectory of the energy flow, this planet is a balance center of the star corridor. The magnetic field of the entire planet forms a closed-loop cage. The only energy source is at the planet's pole. There is an energy release point there, which is also the weakest point in the magnetic field. Zhang Yi rubbed his forehead. I knew it. This thing is man-made. The Star Clan, they're really freaks. Just how terrifying are the limits of a god-level civilization? They actually have enough to create a planet. The stronger Zhang Yi became, the deeper his awe of the ancient, godlike civilization grew. The closer you get, the farther away it feels, like looking into the distance. How far is that place you mentioned from where we are now? Zhang Yi asked. The straight-line distance is approximately 30,000 kilometers. 30,000 kilometers. In space, this would be a simple matter of a warship stepping on the gas. But here, Not far away, a powerful spatial cultivator from the ethereal clan, who was attached to the dragon clan, seemed to disbelieve in the superstition. He gritted his teeth, his body shimmering with silver light, and tried to take flight, using his spatial teleportation ability to leave this hellish place as quickly as possible. Rise. He forcibly mobilized the amount of alien energy in his body, and his entire body rose thousands of meters into the air. But just a few seconds later, his face turned red and veins bulged on his forehead. No. It's too energy-consuming. He cried out in horror. The rules here are devouring my energy. It's like flying with a black hole on my back. My extra energy is draining away at a rate of 5% per second. Thump. He collapsed to the ground, exhausted, panting heavily, his eyes filled with terror. Even a tank-level superhuman, if he tries to maintain flight here, he can only last a few minutes before he's completely drained. The Skywing clan also tried it. They glide using their physical wings, which is better than pure flight, but still extremely strenuous, requiring physical exertion for every flap of their wings. Strong and unstable gravity would also create an uncomfortable environment for flying races. Let me try spatial teleportation. Zhang Yi observed the reactions of others and finally decided to give it a try himself. He stretched out his hand in front of everyone, attempting to open a dimensional door. Buzz. The spatial rift opened with difficulty, but it was extremely unstable, with its edges trembling constantly, as if it would collapse at any moment. He didn't activate the formless realm because that kind of massive domain-type power consumes more energy than spatial travel. Zhang Yi took a step and entered the dimensional gate. Then the next second he was 500 meters ahead. 500 rice? Zhang Yi's expression was rather unpleasant. Normally, his teleportation distance is at least 5 kilometers, but now it has been reduced to 1/10 of that. Moreover, it burns 10 times the amount of calories as usual. In terms of cost-effectiveness, it's even less efficient than running. Anyway, with his exoskeleton armor, Zhang Yi could still move at high speed without any problem thanks to the God Destroyer suit. As expected, we were targeted. Yang Xinxin walked to Zhang Yi's side, looked at the desolate ice field around them, and a flash of enlightenment appeared in her eyes. If I'm not mistaken, this is the entropy reduction realm. Entropy reduction? The crowd was puzzled. Simply put, it's a system of forced cooling and forced order. Yang Xinxin explained. The Starry Sky Corridor is a closed system. According to the second law of thermodynamics, the entropy disorder within a closed system will continuously increase, eventually leading to heat death, which is the death or collapse of the system. Chapter 2833 The Land of Limitation of Power. In order to maintain the operation of this massive project and prevent billions of nodes from collapsing, the Star Clan must create such a special node to absorb and suppress the excess power and chaos in the entire corridor and forcibly reduce the entropy value. Therefore, all active energy will be suppressed here. Whether it is electromagnetic waves from technology or other energy waves from other regions, they will be regarded as sources of chaos and ruthlessly suppressed. After hearing Yang Xinxin's explanation, everyone's hearts sank. In this godforsaken place, most of their prized superhuman abilities have been rendered useless. In other words, King Arthur pulled the sword from the stone, used it as a cane, and said with a wry smile, "Are we just going to walk there like primitive people? 10,000 kilometers. How long will it take to get there? Even if we can't reach it, we still have to go." Zhang Yi took a deep breath and adjusted the internal circulation system of the god-slaying armor to keep his body temperature at its optimal level. There are 2 ways to restore the original meaning of. You can directly absorb external energy or meditate. However, in this place, the energy only goes out and doesn't come in. In other words, it's difficult to achieve enlightenment through meditation. In fact, Zhang Yi could utilize the undigested Black Knight's essence within his body, but he certainly wouldn't tell anyone else. This is the only way. Fortunately, although the alien is suppressed, our physical strength is still there. The physical support function of the battle suit is also still there. Traveling 1,000 miles a day is not difficult for us. As long as we are heading in the right direction, we can reach the summit within a month. He turned around and looked at the vast army behind him, as well as the myriad races that were landing one after another in the distance, all of whom were also in dire straits. On this icy blue dead star, the ancient powerhouses who once soared through the skies and burrowed underground were forced to lower their noble heads and relearn how to measure the earth with their own 2 feet. "Everyone line up," Zhang Yi's voice carried on the cold wind. "Starting from here and aiming for the extreme point, let's advance as quickly as possible and leave this damned planet." Thus began an unprecedented great migration of all races, filled with tragedy and absurdity, on this planet called entropy reduction. There was no flight, no teleportation. Only endless footprints stretch across the icy blue frozen earth towards the unknown distance. Various races marched in groups, like an ancient herd of beasts migrating for survival, enduring the dual torment of bitter cold and gravity, heading towards the only place of hope. This frozen celestial body, named 0-Point Star, now resembles a giant morgue. Tens of thousands of warships of various races lay haphazardly paralyzed on the icy blue frozen ground. Those once powerful interstellar cruisers and anti-gravity arcs that once dominated the universe have now lost their brilliance and become lifeless metal coffins. The cold wind howled, whipping up ice shards from the ground that struck the ship's thick armor, making a crisp, clanging sound. "Are we really going to abandon ship?" An elder from the photosynthesis clan trembled as he extended his withered fingers and stroked the cold walls of the spaceship. For their race, which relies on starlight for survival, warships are not only means of transportation, but also mobile greenhouses and life-sustaining systems. In this godforsaken place with a temperature of 150 degrees Celsius, gravity of 10 times, and no sunlight, leaving the warship means that every step is a matter of burning one's life. "If we don't leave, we'll just stay here and wait to die." Beside him, a Tyrannosaurus warrior snorted and stuffed a large piece of high-calorie compressed jerky into his mouth, chewing it with a crunching sound. "The magnetic field here has locked down all the energy systems. If we stay here and wait for the spaceship's maintenance batteries to run out, we'll all turn into ice sculptures." But what about resupply? Someone raised the most practical question. Without the warship's massive cargo hold, who can guarantee that a single soldier can survive until they've explored the depths of the star corridor with only the supplies they carry? That place is an unknown realm where even space itself is not necessarily stable. Amidst the conflicting opinions and wavering morale, an enticing voice rang out on the public channel, using a short-range sonic amplifier. "Gentlemen, let us not forget where we are." That was a leader of the construct race who was traveling with Zhang Yi and others. The constructs have weak bodies, average height of only about 1 meter, large heads, and short limbs. However, they're very skilled at making tools, and they are usually seen hiding inside powerful constructs. The device, composed of intricate gears and springs, is unaffected by cold but becomes sluggish in strong magnetic fields. This is the Starry Sky Corridor. It's the ruins of a godlike civilization of the 3rd generation. The Star Clan hoarded unimaginable resources in order to fight against the Creator. Deep within this corridor, there must be enough resources and supplies to sustain our lives, and even divine food that we have never seen before. We've already tasted the benefits in the outer little world. Are we really going to push forward here? Once we reach the extreme, once we go deeper, all the energy we've expended will be compensated 1,000-fold. These words precisely struck at the Achilles' heel, greed. Yes, they have already obtained the world core and the ether fragments on the periphery. It's like a gambler winning the first hand. How can they leave the table before even seeing their whole cards? Moreover, having come this far on this road, there's no turning back. This isn't a game level. You can retreat at any time. 0-Point Star, as a massive entropy reduction area, is, to put it bluntly, an insect repellent lamp. If these flying insects swarm over, the family won't care whether you live or die. Even if they wanted to leave by warship, it would be difficult. They had no choice but to move forward. Walk. For evolution. For the race. Hesitation was overwhelmed by greed. The various races finally made up their minds, shouldered their heavy packs, left the warships on which they depended for survival, and embarked on the frozen road leading to the poles. In the ranks of Huashu Kingdom, Liu Karen was sweating profusely, although the sweat would freeze instantly as he adjusted several anti-gravity motorcycles. No, boss, it still won't work. Liu Karen threw the wooden board in frustration. The entropy reduction rules here are too domineering. Anything involving complex electron transitions and high-density particle collisions will be instantly suppressed. The anti-gravity engine can't even ignite, and even the electromagnetic levitation device is ineffective. This means that we really only walk. King Arthur sighed, looking at the endless ice field ahead, feeling a dull ache in his knees. Zhang Yi stood in the cold wind, his brows slightly furrowed. Walking? Although it's not impossible for them to walk there given their physical condition, it would be too inefficient and would consume a huge amount of energy. Chapter 2834 Returning to the primitive era in this perilous star corridor, preserving physical strength is preserving the chance of survival. High technology won't work. Zhang Yi muttered to himself, his mind racing. Why not? Because the rules here suppress high energy and chaos. The more sophisticated the electronic device, and the more it relies on high-energy particle streams, the greater the interference it will be subject to. So, what if it weren't so high energy? If we don't rely on electronic systems or magnetic fields for levitation, is this a return to the most primitive and brutal physical work? Zhang Yi's eyes suddenly lit up. That was the unique radiance of the hamster party. How could I forget that? Zhang Yi slapped his thigh, and a wild smile appeared on his lips. Make way, everyone. I'm showing you a treasure. Everyone was stunned for a moment, and subconsciously stepped back to create some space. With a wave of his hand, Zhang Yi caused the gate to the alternate dimension to burst open. But he didn't take out any futuristic flying vehicle, nor did he take out any magical artifacts. Clang, clang, clang. With a heavy metallic thud, dozens of rugged, even somewhat primitive, steel behemoths appeared in everyone's view. That's a car? It is neither a current maglev car nor a new energy electric vehicle. That was a large displacement gasoline-powered off-road vehicle that Zhang Yi acquired through various channels before the apocalypse, out of a certain nostalgia and collecting hobby. There is a heavily modified George Patton, fitted with bulletproof steel plates and snow tracks. There are Unimog motorhomes with ridiculously high chassis, resembling monsters. There are also more than a dozen heavy-duty Raptor pickup trucks that Liu Karen modified in the early days of the apocalypse. These cars all have one thing in common, a purely mechanical structure, without any fancy electronic assistance systems, making them not only bulky and noisy, but also fuel-guzzling. In this era of widespread nuclear fusion batteries, these things are practically antiques in a museum, like stone axes from primitive times. Prisoner, this. Fatty Sue stared at these huge things, his eyes practically popping out of their sockets. This is your secret weapon? It's so retro. These things were long buried in the grave of history. After the Ice Age, sleds replaced them. People slowly forgot about them, and seeing them now feels like entering a history museum. Even King Arthur and the others looked at Zhang Yi with surprise. They wondered, what's wrong with chaos? Now that he's a top expert among the 6th generation, why is his space still crammed with all this junk? Uncle Yu was reminded of his deceased grandmother, who was the same way back then, unwilling to throw anything away from the house. Retro. Zhang Yi sneered, walked forward, and patted the heavy hood of the Unimog. Here, retro style is unbeatable. The rules here suppress electron flow and magnetic fields. But they can't suppress explosions in cylinders, the meshing of gears, or the movement of pistons. This is called pure mechanical violent aesthetics. Zhang Yi turned to look at Liu Karen. It's flammable. The air intake systems of these vehicles need a minor adjustment. The oxygen content in the air here is too low. We'll connect them directly to our high-purity liquid oxygen tanks. Also, I replaced the tires with the titanium alloy snow chains I collected earlier.
All right.
I know this one well. Luke Heron's eyes lit up, and she immediately called for dozens of mechanical life forms to rush forward. These things were as simple as toys to her, and she could quickly modify them according to Zhang Yi's requirements. 10 minutes later. Boom! As Zhang Yi turned the key, the heavily modified V12 engine roared like thunder. Black smoke billowed from the exhaust pipe and was instantly dispersed by the cold wind. The vibrations from the engine traveled through the steering wheel to Zhang Yi's palms, and the strange, wild mechanical feel made his blood boil. Driving a manual car, I feel like I've gone back to the pre-apocalyptic world. Zhang Yi sighed, saying that he had almost forgotten what it felt like to drive. It really started? King Arthur and Morgan and the others were dumbfounded. In this godforsaken land where even spaceships are grounded, these junk metal pieces from several thousand years ago have actually come to life. Get in car. Zhang Yi waved his hand. I have plenty of this stuff, and I'll make sure there's enough oil. Today we'll have an ice field rally. The people of Huashu Kingdom cheered and jumped onto these steel monsters. Yang Xinxin and Luke Heron sat in the passenger seat and back seat of Zhang Yi's Yunamag, respectively, to monitor the instruments and road conditions. Li Changgong, Zhu Yu, and others each drove a Raptor pickup truck. Even Luo Qiao of the Spirit Clan and Shun Feng of the Sea Abyss Clan, looking on with curiosity, climbed into a stretched George Patton. Luo Qiao even curiously honked the horn, the beep-beep startling the spirit fish. Hold on tight. Zhang Yi floored the accelerator. Rumble, rumble. With the roar of the 12-cylinder engine, the heavy off-road vehicle, like a wild bull unleashed, kicked up a cloud of ice chips with its tracks and plowed a path forward on the frozen ground where gravity was 10 times greater. Although the speed is not comparable to flying, in this environment, a speed of 1 kilometer per hour is already incredibly fast. Thus, on this desolate, icy blue planet, an extremely absurd scene unfolded. Those powerful warriors from various races, who relied on their own 2 legs to trek with great difficulty and panted with every step, suddenly heard a strange rumbling sound coming from behind them. They turned around and were stunned by what they saw. A convoy of dozens of iron boxes, belching black smoke and making a huge noise, was seen whizzing past them with an extremely arrogant attitude. The ice shards kicked up by the wheels mercilessly slapped against the faces of those gods. What the hell is that? A chariot? That's an ancient chariot? Why can it still move? My God. They're riding in a car. I, a powerful bishop, am walking, while they're all going for a ride. I'm devastated. Those races that had previously mocked Huashu Kingdom as an inferior civilization were now consumed by jealousy. Here, the more advanced the technology, the more useless it becomes. Conversely, these bulky, crude mechanical structures become the most reliable partners. Chaos.
Take me with you. I'll pay.
I'll provide the cores. Someone tried to hitch a ride on the car, but Zhang Yi didn't even roll down the window. He just stepped on the gas, spraying exhaust fumes all over the man's face. Sorry, there are no seats available. The convoy sped away, leaving only a long trail of taillights, a silent mockery of all pedestrians. Chapter 2835. The advantage of abundant resources. Of course, not all races were left behind by Zhang Yi and his group. Just as Zhang Yi's convoy sped forward, heavy running sounds suddenly came from the wilderness on both sides. Thump, thump, thump. That's the Spider Demon Clan. These half-human, half-spider monsters were now displaying their terrifying physical prowess. 8 long legs, like steel spears, swung alternately at such a fast pace that only after images could be seen. They don't need to fight against heavy opponents because they are strong enough on their own. They were like a swarm of black lightning bolts flying close to the convoy, managing to keep pace with it and not fall too far behind. On the other side, a group of muscular, 3-meter-tall creatures with wolfhound heads were running wildly. War Dog Clan. This is a race born purely for battle and slaughter. They have abandoned all complex supernatural abilities and only cultivate their physical bodies. Under that terrifying burst of power, each leap they made covered a distance of tens of meters. Their mouths were wide open, their tongues lolling out to dissipate heat, and their eyes were fierce and excited, as if they were engaged in a delightful hunt. That's interesting. Zhang Yi gripped the steering wheel with both hands, driving the car while glancing through the rearview mirror at the pack of relentlessly pursuing spider demon war dogs. Besides them, there were other ancient races running around. Of almost all intelligent beings in history, the sixth-generation human has the weakest physical body. Not to mention the behemoths of the Fifth Age, such as the Dragon Clan and Tyrannosaurus Clan from the oxygen-rich planet 8 era. Even compared to the Wolf Clan and the Worm Clan, the physical abilities of the 6 generations of humans are at an absolute disadvantage. Therefore, they could indeed rely on the strength of their armor and physical bodies to complete this 30,000-kilometer march. In this magic-suppressing realm, races based on physical strength do indeed hold an absolute advantage. But Zhang Yi glanced at the fuel gauge. His alternate dimension contained enough fuel, plundered from the entire Huashu kingdom, to power this caravan for 10,000 years. Oh no, it shouldn't be 10,000 years.
Who knows how long that will take?
After all, fossil fuels are almost obsolete now. Only in some remote small towns do poor people use it for heating. However, because it produces a lot of smoke and pollution, it is often banned by people in the main city. I wonder if your fuel can last longer than mine? Let's speed up. The roar rose again. On this frozen wasteland forgotten by the creator, a race between machines and flesh, technology and wildness, is sprinting wildly toward the finish line called the pole. This was an absurd march, fought for survival but even more so for dignity. On this desolate celestial body called 0-point star, heavy, invisible shackles are tightly fastened to the spine of every living being. Without atmospheric scattering, the sky here appears as a deep, suffocating black. But if you look up, you'll see a scene that would make anyone with megalophobia faint on the spot. The enormous star corridor, radiating a deep blue glow, resembles a giant, luminous galaxy serpent stretching across the sky above. Its complex double helix structure extends infinitely in the field of vision, seemingly within reach, yet also seemingly far away. The extreme contrast between the grand and the minuscule made the vast army of myriad races writhing on this icy plain look like a group of insignificant bacteria. Rumble, rumble. The only noise came from Zhang Yi's enormous convoy. Dozens of heavily modified off-road vehicles, pickup trucks, and RVs lined up in a long steel dragon, recklessly spewing black smoke and crushing the eternally blue frozen ground. The convoy not only contained the elite troops of the Huashu kingdom, but was also packed with allies of the Dragon Clan. The handsome men and beautiful women of the Spirit Clan curiously peeked through the car windows, watching the scenery rushing by. A few spirit fish even crawled into the exhaust pipe out of curiosity, getting sprayed with black ash, which caused a burst of laughter in the carriage. The strong men of the Sea Abyss tribe treated the bumpy ride like a massage, groaning with pleasure. Is this the ancient invention called the internal combustion engine? Sitting in the passenger seat, Luo Qiao held a cup of hot coffee that Zhang Yi had given him, watching the needles on the dashboard jumping wildly, a hint of curiosity flashing in his eyes. Although it's rough and extremely noisy, the vibrations from the meshing of these mechanical gears have a strange sense of rhythm. They have a more living quality than our Eldar's silent psionic vehicles. Zhang Yi was driving, one hand on the steering wheel and the other holding a lit cigarette. Production in Huashu Kingdom had recovered, and there was even a surplus of land to grow tobacco. He chuckled softly upon hearing this. This is called mechanical violence aesthetics. In this ghostly land where superpowers are treated like air, only this kind of pure physics will not betray you. No sooner had he finished speaking than a call came through the walkie-talkie from the vehicle behind.
Dad.
The brothers from the Abyss clan say they're out of gas. That Unimog is a gas guzzler. The tank won't hold up if we keep going like this. Fatty Sue's voice came through. Out of gas. Zhang Yi raised an eyebrow. That was perfectly normal. In this entropy reduction environment, which is 10 times heavier than usual, The engine must maintain a high speed at all times in order to keep the vehicle moving, resulting in fuel consumption that is more than 10 times higher than usual. When you step on the gas, the fuel gauge drops faster than your heartbeat. Stop the car. We need to refuel. At Zhang Yi's command, the entire convoy slowly came to a stop. Immediately afterwards, a scene unfolded that made the surrounding alien warriors, who had been walking and were exhausted like dogs, green with envy. With a wave of his hand, Zhang Yi opened a spatial rift behind him. Clang!
Clang!
Clang! Barrels of high-purity fuel labeled 98, 95, or even aviation kerosene were piled up like free garbage, forming a small mountain. Come on, don't be shy. Zhang Yi stood atop a pile of oil drums, shouting like a nouveau riche. No matter what race you're from, as long as you're a brother in our Dragon Clan team, we'll give you plenty. Add as many as you want. If that's not enough, I have more. This is way too extravagant. The chieftain of the Crystal Rock clan, who was affiliated with the Dragon Clan, trembled with heartache as he watched the clear fuel gurgle into the fuel tank. In this frigid land where even starting a fire is a struggle, these high-energy fuels are practically liquid gold. Your Excellency Chaos, this is too much trouble. The clan chief rubbed his hands, which were covered in stones, looking rather awkward. Oh, why are you being so polite? Zhang Yi walked over, patted his hard shoulder affectionately, and handed him a high-calorie energy bar. Chapter 2836, The Assassin Team. We're all allies in the same boat. Helping each other is only natural. Besides, Zhang Yi pointed to his unfathomable alternate dimension, a meaningful smile playing on his lips. This little bit of oil is nothing to us. As long as everyone is extremely comfortable, that's better than anything else. These words were spoken with such heroic spirit and unwavering loyalty. The vassal races of the surrounding Dragon Clan were all moved to tears, and their gazes toward Zhang Yi changed. They initially held a certain degree of contempt for this short-lived species with only tens of thousands of years of history, thinking that it was just lucky to have latched onto the dragon race.
But now?
This isn't just a joke. This is an absolute benefactor. He's a living bodhisattva. Brother Chaos. From now on, our Giant Tooth clan will follow you. You decide who to kill, and we'll kill them. The giant teeth of the Giant Tooth tribe excitedly waved the bone club in its mouth and roared. Zhang Yi smiled without saying a word, concealing his achievements and fame. What does this little bit of gasoline mean to him? Before he died, he emptied the inventory of several large oil refineries. He still has millions of tons of these oil drums in his space, enough to burn for several lifetimes. Trading this worthless industrial waste for the goodwill of these powerful combatants is an incredibly lucrative deal. However, this heartwarming and harmonious scene was seen as the most vicious psychological attack by other races who were measuring the earth on two legs. The problem is not scarcity, but inequality. If we all suffer together, then so be it. But there's this group of guys right next to you, sitting in their car, enjoying the heater, drinking hot drinks, and they even give you free gas. Who can withstand this? Finally, someone couldn't hold back any longer. Lord Chaos, please wait. A slippery, unpleasant-sounding voice rang out. A creature without limbs, crawling forward entirely by its body, was desperately trying to move from the back of the line. Because he was moving so fast, he left a long trail of slime on the ice. It was Asakawa, the representative of the Earthworm clan whom I had met once before in the small world. At this moment, Asakawa no longer had any of the cold and cunning demeanor he had before. He was frozen purple in the extreme cold, and the mucus that was supposed to keep him moist was almost frozen solid. He looked like a slug about to freeze solid. The worm race has a very strong physique, with muscles all over their bodies, so they are not in mortal danger from frostbite. The discomfort is real. Having grown accustomed to the conveniences brought by high technology, how can it bear to suddenly become primitive? Oh my, isn't this Brother Asakawa? Zhang Yi leaned against the car door, looking at him in surprise. How did you get into this state? Aren't you earthworms the best at traveling underground? You should be able to travel quite quickly. Asakawa gave an awkward laugh, his mouth full of sharp teeth twisting into an expression that looked more like a grimace. Your Excellency Chaos is joking? This ground is too hard to drill through. And it's too cold here. We cold-blooded animals really can't stand it. He glanced greedily at the steaming vehicles behind Zhang Yi and swallowed hard. I see you have a lot of vehicles here. I wonder if we could borrow a few? Even one of those convertible pickup trucks would be fine. We're willing to pay. We'll contribute our own money. Borrow a car? Zhang Yi stroked his chin, seemingly deep in thought. Seeing this, the other neutral races around them all perked up their ears, and some were even itching to rush over and curry favor. It's not that it's impossible, Zhang Yi said slowly. This guy loves making friends. We met once before in that industrial little world. At this point, Zhang Yi paused, his gaze sharpening. However, not everyone can ride in my car. Qian Chuan, do you remember when we were over there? Your Earthworm clan didn't attack our Huashu kingdom and even took the initiative to avoid us, right? Upon hearing this, Asakawa nodded vigorously. Yes, yes, yes. We have always held the Huashu kingdom in the highest esteem. We have absolutely no ill intentions whatsoever. Okay. Zhang Yi snapped his fingers. Give him 2 raptors and 10 barrels of oil.
Oh.
Thank you so much, Lord Chaos. Thank you so much. Asakawa was so excited that he almost knelt down and kowtowed to Zhang Yi for their race. There was no shame in kneeling, since they were used to prostrating themselves on the ground. With these 2 vehicles, even if only a few core members can squeeze in, that would be a huge favor. With Asakawa as a precedent, the neutral races around them who had been watching instantly erupted in anger. Lord Chaos, you want to borrow the car? We rock demons haven't moved it before. And there's also the photosynthesis tribe. They've always been pacifists. In no time, Zhang Yi's camp was completely surrounded. Zhang Yi didn't mince words and had Yang Xinxin pull up the surveillance data from the front lines and compare it one by one. He distributed some supplies to all races that had not shown hostility towards Huashu Kingdom or had truly remained neutral. Even those without vehicles were given some cold weather gear and fuel. As for those races that had tried to take advantage of the chaos or bared their fangs at the Huashu Kingdom, Zhang Yi coldly uttered a single sentence. We will not lend our tools to those who are hostile to our Huashu Kingdom. This move infuriated those with ulterior motives. And, in the distance, a group of enormous, ferocious-looking creatures were coldly watching them. Those are aliens of the Spider Demon Clan, the Blood Clan, and the Nor Clan. Ever since Zhang Yi killed those 4 black Night-level powerhouses, they've been sticking together for warmth and following in the footsteps of the Tyrannosaurus clan. They have been looking for an opportunity to take revenge on Zhang Yi ever since they entered the Starry Sky Corridor. At this moment, seeing Zhang Yi lavishly bribing Jiam, the new leader of the Spider Demon Clan, a slightly smaller black spider, it couldn't help but let out a sour hiss. Humph. Just trying to attract attention. They're just scrap metal outdated by the times. Only trash would treat them as treasures. Yes. The vampire elder beside him wrapped his red robe tighter around himself. Although his lips were purple from the cold, his mouth remained stubbornly open. True strength lies in overcoming all obstacles through physical strength and willpower. Relying on external aids is ultimately an inferior approach. Let's see how long they can be so smug. Once the fuel runs out, let's see if they won't be crying for their parents. They now thoroughly hate this damn Zero Star. Chapter 2837, he's practically a Superman. As a night-level powerhouse and an immortal being, his physical body alone already surpassed most metal armors. Unlike Zhang Yi, who possessed the technology of a god-level civilization and painstakingly crafted battle armor, they relied more on their own abilities. However, in the current environment, they inevitably suffered great losses. As the group cursed and swore, their eyes, filled with jealousy and resentment, stared at Zhang Yi's convoy, their steps growing heavier. It's sour, so very sour. The entire ice field was filled with the smell of aged vinegar. Time passes. Unbeknownst to them, they had already traveled for dozens of hours on this cold and desolate planet. Even with a vehicle for transportation, the continuous high-intensity bumps and mental strain left everyone feeling deeply exhausted. Is it dark yet?
Probably.
Li Changgong looked up at the sky. Although there are no stars here, the huge starry sky corridor overhead is itself a source of light. At this moment, the corridor seemed to have entered a special cycle, and the blue light gradually dimmed, replaced by a deep, dark purple. Lu Rant's expression changed, and he said in a serious tone, "This is bad." Because she understood that such changes in the cosmic environment meant that a cosmic storm was coming. When Zhang Yi received the message, he merely raised an eyebrow slightly, without paying it much attention. Although they were afraid of the cosmic storm, they had long been prepared. So he said calmly, "It's time to stop and rest. We'll continue when the storm has passed." Sure enough, after not knowing, whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The wind grew even more piercing, carrying with it ice crystals and sand capable of tearing through steel. The temperature dropped again, approaching minus 180 degrees Celsius. All personnel halt. Set up camp and rest. Leaders of various ethnic groups issued directives. This was not only to recover physical strength, but also to avoid the approaching storm surge. Those tribes without vehicles or shelters had no choice but to set up camp in the most primitive form of a type of settlement. The Tyrannosaurus warriors formed a circle, their bodies creating a wall of flesh to protect the weaker ones in the center. The spider demons frantically dug holes in the frozen ground, trying to burrow underground to avoid the wind. Many other races could only huddle in the sheltered spots of the rocks, activating the energy shields on their armor to withstand the bitter cold. When will this end? A strange man hugged his knees, gazing at the dark wasteland in the distance, his heart filled with sorrow. In fact, they wouldn't be particularly uncomfortable in this kind of environment. After all, the armor on their bodies was enough to keep out the severe cold. The feeling was similar to resting in a very warm sleeping bag on a snow-capped mountain. Although it's not cold, there's still a bitter feeling in my heart. The compressed biscuit in my hand was as hard as a rock, and I just couldn't swallow it. While everyone was immersed in a miserable atmosphere. Buzz. A tremendous spatial tremor suddenly resounded at the location of Zhang Yi's convoy camp. Immediately afterwards, a blinding light shone, illuminating the ice field that stretched for hundreds of miles around. Everyone instinctively covered their eyes. When the light faded, they lowered their hands and slowly opened their eyes. Everyone's expression froze. My jaw dropped to the floor. On the once empty ice plain, a city suddenly appeared out of nowhere. No, it's more than just a city. That was a super war fortress, made entirely of super alloy, covering an area of over 100 square kilometers and possessing a three-dimensional structure. Sky-Sea Fortress. It descended upon this wasteland so abruptly and domineeringly. Warm yellow light flowed across the massive metal facade, the glow of civilization. Although the energy shield generator at the top of the fortress was suppressed, it still created a huge pale blue hemispherical light screen, completely blocking out the wind, snow, and cold. Through that transparent light screen, you could even see the well-organized streets, neat barracks, and the steaming mess hall chimney inside the fortress. Holy shit. A female Eldar from the Eldar race dropped her energy bar to the ground. Even the people from the Korean side were stunned by Zhang Yi's extravagant spending. While everyone else stopped to avoid the cosmic storm, Zhang Yi calmly got out of the car and, in front of everyone, made a single gesture with his hand, opening a dimensional gate. Immediately, the allied forces from the Deep Blue Kingdom, the Spirit Clan, and the Abyss Clan, among others, were stunned to witness a scene that drove them mad. Sky-Sea Fortress has appeared. Lord Chaos, you actually brought this thing with you? King Jean the Crab of the Deep Blue Kingdom pointed at the Sky-Sea Fortress, his eyes practically popping out of their sockets. General Yu's eyes lit up as he excitedly rubbed his own octopus tentacles. Oh, sir. You are truly magnificent. Zhang Yi stood in front of the fortress gate, looking at the crowd's bewildered expressions, and calmly straightened his collar.
What?
Isn't it normal to bring a tent when you're out and about? This is a tent. Shunfeng pointed at the fortress, which was even larger than the city of Kunming, his thick fingers trembling. This is a mobile palace, means not surprised. With a wave of his hand, Zhang Yi caused the heavy alloy gate of the fortress to open with a loud bang. A warm, moist breeze instantly rushed out from inside the door, blowing onto everyone's frozen faces. Go inside, everyone. The hot water is ready, and the canteen staff has prepared hot pot and barbecue for us. Eat and drink well, get a good night's sleep, and continue our journey after the cosmic storm ends. Long live the Lord Chaos. You're practically a Superman. He's not that weak, is he? Cheers resounded through the sky. The warriors of Huashu Kingdom, along with their allies from the Dragon Clan, charged into the fortress like madmen. That feeling was like stepping from hell into heaven. At this time, outside the fortress's light curtain, those powerful members of other races who were still shivering in the cold wind and gnawing on cold, hard rations stared wide-eyed at the towering steel city that had sprung up from the ground. Their heads were buzzing. Did I see that right? That's the house? Such a big house. They're eating hot pot inside? I think I smell lamb and cumin. Why? Someone finally broke down and slammed the compressed biscuits in their hand onto the ground. We're all here to explore, so why are we sleeping in the snow like stray dogs while they get to live in castles, take hot baths, and eat and drink well? Is this a space-time ability user? This is cheating.
Alright, that's it for today's chapter. Tell me in the comments which part you enjoyed the most. If you love manga style stories, don't forget to like the video and subscribe the Buzz Play Manga. See you in the next chapter with more surprises.